Young Thug has just spent $5 million in cash on a brand new Florida mansion, and it's even more impressive than you'd expect. From 7 bedrooms to a massive guest house sitting on 2 private acres, here's everything you need to know about his newest home. So here's the situation. Young Thug, legal name Jeffrey Lamar Williams II, just closed on a mansion in Cooper City, Florida. Not Atlanta, not Buckhead where he used to live, Florida. And the way he bought it is what's got everybody talking. No mortgage was recorded, which suggests it was an all-cash deal. That's not a small detail. When you're talking about a $5 million property, most people, even people with money, finance at least part of it. Thug didn't. He walked in and paid the whole thing outright. Let's talk numbers because they matter here. The house was completed this year and hit the market while it was under construction last year, asking $8 million. It was relisted in May for just under $6 million. So this place started as an $8 million ask. By the time Thug got involved, the number had already dropped to something closer to $6 million. And then he negotiated it down even further. Initially listed at $6 million, the home was purchased for $1 million less, highlighting a significant deal in the South Florida real estate market. $1 million off the asking price, in cash. No financing contingencies to slow anybody down. That's the kind of leverage cash buyers get. Sellers move faster and cut deeper when they know the deal isn't going to fall apart over a loan getting denied. Now here's how the paperwork actually reads. The rapper finalized the acquisition on July 8th through a trust connected to an LLC co-managed by Young Thug and his manager, music executive Jeff Ogunleze. That's a pretty standard move for anybody with real money and real lawyers. You don't put a mansion in your own name, you put it behind a trust and an LLC. Keeps things quiet, keeps things protected. Let's get into the actual specs of the place, because this is what everybody wants to know. Young Thug paid $5 million for a 7-bedroom, 7.5 bathroom home south of Sterling Road and east of Northwest 101 Avenue. The 6,000 square foot house sits on a 2-acre lot in western Broward County, 2 acres in South Florida. That's not a backyard, that's a piece of land. And the house itself isn't some flip job either. The newly renovated estate offers soaring double-height ceilings, sleek marble flooring, and solid wood doors imported from Italy throughout the interior. Think about that for a second. Doors imported from Italy, not the cabinets, not the countertops. The actual doors throughout the entire house are shipped in from overseas. That's the level of detail we're talking about here. And the kitchen might be the centerpiece of the whole property. In the full-scale kitchen, an expansive marble waterfall island serves as the centerpiece, complemented by bespoke wood cabinetry and state-of-the-art appliances. A waterfall island. That's when the marble doesn't just sit on top of the counter. It cascades down the sides all the way to the floor, like a slab of stone poured straight down. It's one of the most expensive design choices you can make in a kitchen right now, and this house has it as the focal point. Now let's talk about the guest situation, because most mansions just have extra bedrooms. This one has an entire separate structure. The estate includes an 884 square foot guest cabana with 2 beds and 2 baths. That's not a pool house with a bathroom slapped on. That's basically a second home sitting on the same 2 acres. Almost 900 square feet, 2 full bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms. Family could stay there. Friends could stay there. An entire separate unit just for guests. And on top of all that, security and privacy are also priorities, with automated motorized gates and a sophisticated surveillance system in place to protect the expansive grounds. Motorized gates, full surveillance. For somebody who just came off one of the most publicized criminal cases in music history, that's not a luxury add-on. That's a necessity. So that's the deal on paper. $5 million cash, closed on July 8th, $1 million under asking, 7 bedrooms, a guest cabana, imported doors, a waterfall kitchen island, gated and monitored. But the real story isn't just what the house looks like. It's why Thug ended up buying in Cooper City, Florida of all places, instead of anywhere near his hometown. And that answer takes us back to a courtroom in Atlanta and a decision that changed where he's allowed to live for the next decade. Let's slow down and actually walk through this house room by room, because the details here are the whole reason this purchase is getting so much attention. Start with the location itself. Cooper City sits in western Broward County, a quieter, more suburban stretch of South Florida. Not the flash of Miami Beach, not the nightlife strip of South Beach. It's the kind of area where privacy is easier to come by, where a 2-acre lot with motorized gates actually blends in rather than stands out. That matters for somebody trying to keep a lower profile these days. The size of the lot alone puts this property in a different category than most celebrity home purchases you hear about. 2 acres in South Florida is rare. Land out there is expensive and limited, especially once you get into areas zoned for large single-family estates rather than stacked condos or tight suburban blocks. The 6,000 square foot house sits on a 2-acre lot in western Broward County. And when you picture that much land around a house this size, you're picturing real distance between the front gate and the front door. Long driveway, space between neighbors, room to build out further if he ever wanted to. Inside, the ceiling height is one of the first things anybody notices. The spacious home boasts soaring double-height ceilings, sleek marble flooring, and solid wood doors imported from Italy throughout the interior. Double-height ceilings mean you walk into certain rooms, usually the main living area or the entry foyer, and the ceiling doesn't stop at a normal 8 or 10 feet. It goes up 2 full stories, open all the way to the roof line. It's a design choice that architects use specifically to make a home feel bigger than its actual square footage, and paired with marble flooring running throughout. It gives the place a hotel lobby kind of feel the second you step inside. Then there's the kitchen, which by every account is the standout room in the entire house. The chef's kitchen revolves around an oversized marble waterfall island and comes equipped with custom wood cabinetry and top-of-the-line Sub-Zero appliances. If the kitchen isn't enough, the home also includes a game room outfitted with a professional pool table and a massive 200-inch LED screen. A 200-inch screen, for reference, that's roughly the size of a small movie theater screen. Not a home theater setup, an actual theater-scale display built into a game room alongside a professional pool table. This isn't a man cave in the basement. This is a dedicated entertainment wing. Moving upstairs, the primary suite gets its own section of the write-ups too. Upstairs, the primary suite comes with his and hers walk-in closets and a spa-inspired bathroom setup from what's been reported on the layout. His and hers closets are detail builders, add specifically for couples who each want their own separate space. Full walk-in rooms, not shared racks. Now, the guest cabana deserves its own moment here too, because it's functionally a second residence. The newly renovated estate features 7 bedrooms and 7.5 bathrooms, plus an 884 square foot guest cabana, complete with 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Picture a freestanding building near the pool, fully self-contained, with its own bedrooms and bathrooms. The kind of structure other buyers in that price range use for visiting family, staff, or long-term guests without anyone having to share the main house at all. Security wraps around the entire property. Security and privacy are priorities, with automated motorized gates and a sophisticated surveillance system in place to protect the expansive grounds. On 2 acres, that's not one camera by the front door. That's a system designed to cover a perimeter, tree lines, a driveway long enough that somebody could be on the property for a while before ever reaching the actual house. And the overall renovation is recent. This isn't an older estate that Thug is now fixing up over time. The house was completed this year and hit the market while it was under construction last year, meaning everything from the marble to the Sub-Zero refrigeration to the imported doors is essentially brand new, built for one specific sale rather than lived in and updated over decades. Put it all together and you get a property built less like a traditional southern mansion and more like a modern compound. Open ceilings, a showroom kitchen, a home theater/game room, a guest house, and a security setup wrapped around 2 acres of land. It's the kind of home that photographs well for a real estate listing but functions, in practice, as a private retreat. Which, given everything Thug had just come out of, might be exactly the point. Because to understand why privacy and distance mattered so much in this purchase, you have to go back to where he was living before, and why he's not allowed to live there anymore. Here's the part of the story that explains everything else. Young Thug isn't just choosing Florida because he likes the weather. He's buying there because Georgia isn't an option, not for the next 10 years. Rewind to May of 2022. Young Thug spent roughly 2.5 years incarcerated, starting in May 2022 after being charged in Georgia's longest-running criminal trial. That trial became one of the most talked about cases in music, tied to the YSL RICO indictment. Prosecutors alleging that the label he built, Young Slime Life, functioned as a criminal enterprise. Young Thug was released from jail after spending more than 900 days behind bars on racketeering and drug-related charges. Prosecutors alleged the rap label operated as a gang, and was responsible for the majority of violent crime tied to the case in Fulton County. For over 2 years, that case dragged through the courts, becoming a fixture of Atlanta news cycles, with hearings, delays, and testimony stretching on longer than almost any criminal trial in the state's history. And through all of it, Thug sat in custody, watching his career pause in real time while lawyers argued in front of cameras. Then came the resolution. The YSL RICO case finally ended when he pleaded guilty in October 2024, and the judge commuted his 5-year prison sentence to time served. That's the moment everything changed. He walked out, but not without conditions attached. Heavy ones. He's now on 15 years of probation, with a 10-year ban from Atlanta and the surrounding metro area. That restriction means he can't return home for a decade. Sit with that for a second. 15 years of probation is a long stretch under any circumstance. But the 10-year ban from his own hometown is the part that reshaped his entire life afterward. Atlanta isn't just where he's from, it's where YSL was built, where Buckhead mansions and studio sessions and the entire foundation of his career happened. And for the next decade, he legally cannot be there. That's the piece that turns a real estate story into something bigger. The Florida mansion gives him a fresh start somewhere else. This wasn't a rapper picking a vacation home in the Sunshine State on a whim. This was somebody figuring out where to actually live permanently after the one place he calls home became legally off limits. And it's worth remembering what he had before all this. Back before the case, Thug had built out a serious footprint in Atlanta real estate. Atlanta rapper Young Thug had put his 7-bed, 11-bath mansion in Buckhead on the market, and reports on that Buckhead estate describe it as a more than 10,000 square foot mansion in Buckhead that was formerly owned by superstar rapper Young Thug. It was a statement home in the neighborhood where a lot of Atlanta's biggest hip-hop names have historically settled. But that Buckhead chapter is closed now, both by circumstance and by law. So instead of rebuilding in Georgia, he rebuilt 2 states away, in a quieter Broward County suburb, where nobody's expecting to run into him. And it's not like the man slowed down once he landed there either. What's wild is that he's not slowing down at all. Young Thug just announced the New Generation Tour, his first major run since walking out of custody. So the picture starts to come together. A decade-long exile from home, answered with a 2-acre compound in a new state, and a tour announcement signaling he's not just settling in quietly. He's getting back to work. Which brings us to what that new chapter actually looks like day to day. So what does Young Thug's life actually look like right now, post-trial, post-purchase? Because the mansion is just the physical marker of a much bigger reset happening at the same time. Start with how he's spending his days. Reports describe him keeping a noticeably lower profile than the version of him that existed before the indictment. Rather than courtroom updates, Thugger has been keeping a relatively low profile, occasionally popping out at places like LIV to catch sets from artists such as Pazza, or showing support for younger acts as he quietly settles back into life outside the courtroom. That's a real shift in tone. For years, headlines about Thug were headlines about the trial, motions, delays, witness testimony, jail conditions. Now the headlines that exist are about him showing up at a club to watch a DJ set or supporting a younger artist's show. Quiet, low-key, normal celebrity behavior instead of courtroom drama. And the timing lines up directly with the mansion purchase. Now, with a new mansion in South Florida and his first tour since his release on the horizon, it feels like Young Thug is entering another reinvention period. That tour is the other half of this story, and it's worth breaking down, because it shows he's not retreating, he's rebuilding in public. Young Thug just announced the New Generation Tour, which kicks off September 1 in Rogers, Arkansas, and runs through October 24 in Paris with special guest Nav. The tour hits major cities across North America and Europe, including a homecoming show in Atlanta, on September 20 at Lakewood Amphitheater. This marks his first major headlining tour since his release, and his first tour in over 6 years. Notice something interesting there. A homecoming show in Atlanta, even with the 10-year residency ban in place. A probation restriction on where you can live is a different legal matter than performing a single show in a city under supervised conditions, and reports confirm that Atlanta's stop is on the schedule. It's a strange contradiction on paper, banned from living there, but still able to walk out on that stage for one night. The lineup for the tour tells its own story too. The tour is headlined by Thug alongside special guest Nav and a lineup of emerging YSL artists, including Diamond, Tezus, 300 Saint, Iris, Yume, Biggs, and Unkai. That's not just a comeback tour for himself. It's him using the platform to push the next generation of his own label out in front of audiences across 2 continents. The run includes 19 North American dates before heading overseas for 4 European stops, and Miami specifically won't even get a stop on the run, which makes the Cooper City purchase feel less like a business decision tied to touring logistics, and more like a genuine choice about where he wants to actually live. Miami won't be getting a stop on this run, but judging by his newest purchase, it's safe to say he plans on spending plenty of time in the Sunshine State anyway. There's also been some noise in the background that hints the post-trial chapter isn't entirely clean. Around the start of this year, a snippet leaked of a new, unreleased track, where fans picked up on a line widely interpreted as aimed at his former YSL co-defendant. On Thursday, the rapper took to his Instagram stories to share a snippet of an untitled song, and as the clip went viral, internet users began speculating that the bar was dissing Gunna for allegedly snitching during the YSL RICO trial. It's a reminder that even with the trial behind him and a new mansion in a new state, the fallout from those years in the courtroom hasn't fully disappeared. It just moved from the courtroom into the music. Still, the bigger picture right now leans toward rebuilding rather than conflict. New house, new tour, new state. A rotating cast of YSL's next generation getting stage time behind him. It's the outline of somebody trying to start the next chapter on his own terms, even with real legal boundaries drawn around exactly where that chapter is allowed to happen. And that reinvention doesn't exist in isolation either. It's happening in front of an industry full of people who've watched his career from the very beginning, some of whom have worked directly alongside him for years. To understand how big this moment actually is, it helps to zoom out and look at who's actually in Young Thug's orbit right now. Because the names attached to him say a lot about where he stands in the industry, even after everything he's been through. Young Thug is a favorite among other big names in music, including Sir Elton John, Andre 3000, Drake, and Lil Uzi Vert. That's not a small list. That's one of the most decorated songwriters in the history of pop music, alongside a genre-bending Outkast legend, the biggest rapper of the streaming era, and one of the most influential young voices in hip-hop right now, all publicly associated with him as collaborators or admirers. The Elton John connection specifically has produced actual recorded work between the two. Elton John collaborated with Young Thug on High and Always Love You, 2 tracks that put a 70s rock icon in the booth with an Atlanta trap artist, which tells you something about how far Thug's influence has traveled outside the boundaries of his own genre. That's the context that makes this moment land the way it does. This isn't somebody who disappeared from relevance during 2.5 years in custody. It's somebody who came out the other side of a historic criminal trial, with the respect of some of music's biggest names still intact, a new album cycle rolling out, a tour booked across 2 continents, and now a fully paid-off compound to call home. The house itself, at the end of the day, works as a kind of marker for where he is right now. This isn't just a real estate move. It's a statement that he's back, and better than ever financially. Paying $5 million in cash, negotiating $1 million off the asking price, doing it all through a trust with his manager while the rest of the world was still talking about a RICO case. That's a specific kind of message. It says the money never actually went anywhere. It says the case, the probation, the 10-year ban, all of it slowed him down, but it didn't take away what he built before any of it started. And there's something almost symbolic in the location itself. Not Atlanta, where he can't legally live for another decade. Not the old Buckhead estate, sold off and moved on from. A brand new build in a quiet Broward County suburb, finished this year. Never lived in by anyone else before him. Completed this year and hit the market while it was under construction last year. He's not moving into somebody else's old life. He's moving into something that didn't exist until right around the time his own case was wrapping up. What happens from here plays out on 2 tracks at once. There's the legal track, 15 years of probation stretching out ahead of him, the Atlanta restriction not lifting for a full decade, and whatever conditions come with performing a homecoming show inside a city he's technically banned from living in. And then there's the career track, a tour that's already selling dates across 2 continents, a new generation of YSL artists riding alongside him on that same stage, and a body of work that's still pulling in collaborators at the highest level of the industry. 2 acres of land in Cooper City sits at the center of both of those tracks right now. It's the place he comes back to between tour stops. It's the address that replaced the one he's not allowed to use anymore. and it's paid for in full, no bank attached, which, after everything the last few years put him through, might be the most telling detail of all.